Good afternoon. I'm Gary Hines, and I'm the host of Career Strategy Forum. And I am going to be talking today, just giving you a little bit of an intro about myself and um, what this course is going to involve primarily. And I'm calling it a course, but basically it's a top podcast. So I'm launching my first career strategy podcast on philadelphiaradio.com in Philadelphia. And I'll talk a little bit about what that's going to be and how that's going to come out. So, anyway, as I said, my name is Gary Hines. I'm a Philadelphia native. I was born and raised here, went to school, high school, and college here. Um, I did live on the West Coast for some years, but that was almost 40 years ago. So, I've been back in Philly since the 80s, early 80s, actually. So, anyway, that's where I was born. That's who I am, and a little bit about my background is I went to college here in Philadelphia. I got my undergraduate degree at Eastern University in organizational management, and I got my master's degree from Chestnut Hill College in instructional technology. And yeah, so that's some of my educational background. I during that stint when I lived on the West Coast, I actually was I got involved in the retail management field. I started working in fast food and eventually worked into the management section of those companies. And I just kept that management skill along with me to when I moved back to Philadelphia and started managing various stores, clothing stores, shoe stores, and then eventually in departments within larger department stores. So housewares, home goods, things like that. I managed those departments. Um, Eventually, I got into teaching. I ran into some people that were at the local community college, and they needed teachers, and they needed somebody, particularly males, that had a bachelor's degree to teach basic adult education. And so I did that. Started off in my teaching career, just basics, reading, writing, math, for folks that were primarily going back to school to get their GED diplomas. And so I did that for a long time until I got my master's. And then I went back and started teaching credit courses in computer literacy, computer technology. And this was the very basic stuff back in the 90s. So we're talking Windows 95. We're talking applications like Word and PowerPoint and Excel. But I taught all of that for a while. And then eventually I got into education administration, which led me to develop programs, write curriculum, work in many different fields of community service at the Community College of Philadelphia. I actually wrote a book around this time with some coworkers on, newly arrived immigrants being able to transition into the workforce in this country. So that was pretty interesting back in 2000. um, so yeah, most of my work post teaching has been in education and training, particularly in recruitment for various job training programs, setting those programs up, getting instructors, getting students, getting locations, buying books, things like that. I did a lot for community services at Community College of Philadelphia. Eventually, I became the director of online training and testing for folks that were coming in to get certification in licensure in various fields like healthcare, automotive industry, the legal field. So I just managed a center primarily where they came in and did that certification through various third-party programs. One of my last full-time jobs before my layoff was at a company that specialized in manufacturing consulting. And what they did is they went out and all the manufacturing companies in the 5-county area around Philadelphia could utilize their services for training, for grant funding, for just information on gathering labor and getting new sources of income for those companies. So my work was primarily as a project manager, managing various projects and grant initiatives through organizations and government agencies like the Department of Defense, Department of Education, and those various sectors. So I did that for many, many years, and eventually I started, doing presentations to high school students, to community leaders, to superintendents and principals at various schools to talk about the kind of careers that there were in manufacturing and try to recruit them into going into that field post high school. So that was very rewarding, and I did a lot of different works, met a lot of different people in those fields. So eventually, I got laid off from that job, and I started thinking, what is my next move? What am I going to actually do next? So I began thinking, what am I going to do next? And I decided that there was a thread that sort of ran throughout my career, and that was always helping people either look for jobs, get prepared for jobs, or on the other side of the table, helping companies find workers who were looking for jobs and trying to match those two up. So I kept thinking, I said, well, career management, career preparation should certainly be something I should look into because I've done so much of that. And so I connected with a gentleman who was an executive outplacement coach for many years, had his own business. And I actually bought a license from him to utilize his products and services in my practice and branded everything under my name, which is the Gary Hines Consulting Group. And anyway, I was able to utilize a lot of his materials. Of course, I've tweaked and changed and added and deleted certain things from those series of activities that he engaged in, and I just kind of made them on my own. So yeah, that's pretty much how I got started in 2014, 2015 time period, and it didn't really work out how I kind of thought it was going to work out as far as having the number of people, the number of clients that I wanted. I developed websites, I got on social media, I created media marketing, and I did networking. I did several things, and I just couldn't get a whole lot of people that wanted to pay for me to work with them as a coach on their career search. So I ended up taking smaller part time things, contracted work, 1099 type of positions where I was going out and doing some of the same things in workshops, but not a full on employee and certainly not utilizing my practice, but just doing a lot of the things that I already knew around career preparation. Um, so one job led to another, led to another. I end up getting full time jobs in workforce development at other colleges and nonprofits over the years. And so I worked for Montgomery County Community College as the director of workforce development. I worked for Temple University, managing another program called Temple Cares. And that was actually the official last job that I had, last full time salaried with benefits job that I had at Temple University in 2020. So after the pandemic hit, I came back and actually started utilizing all of my efforts into the business that I had started, 6, 7 years ago, and really tried to focus on that. So that's kind of what I'm doing now. And since that time, I have had more clients. I have been able to work again as a contractor, doing some of the same type of work. But it's kind of expanded into project management where organizations get grants and they want to do a specific project. They'll bring me in as an outside third party person to sort of manage that project. And so I'm currently in the middle of a lot of that now. But what I did do in the meantime is I created an online course for all of the career management and career preparation activities and material and tools that I use. And you can find that or check that out at GaryHinesConsulting.com. Up at the top of the screen, there's a tab for online course, career strategy course. And you can click on there and just take a visual view of what that course involved. And that's pretty much kind of what these workshops on this podcast are going to be about. The same thing that I do in my online course and that I do in workshops in person, live. So, yeah, it all kind of ties in together. So, if you are interested in that, certainly check that out. And just to let you know, also, if you have any additional questions that you'd like some one-on-one consultation with, you can hit me up at Gary at GaryHinesConsulting.com. Okay. All right. So let's get into what these podcasts are going to look like. Okay, let's get into what this podcast series is going to actually become, and how I'm going to get started in it. So, as I mentioned earlier, this is going to be broadcast on philadelphiaradio.com, on its online radio station, and soon they're branching into TV as well. But it will be coming on the last Monday of every month, from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m., 1 hour. And I eventually may change that down the road. But that's where we're going to start at in April, this month, April. April 29th will be the first show, 7 to 8 p.m. So look out for that on philadelphiaradio.com. Shout out to Ty and his team, um, Ty Richardson, for letting me have this platform to do my work. I also have a radio show that plays music on there too, but that's for another time. Anyway, so what this series is going to consist of is me going through helping job seekers. And these job seekers could be anywhere inside. Okay, sorry about that little glitch there, but had a neighbor coming by, had an emergency situation. So anyway, back to you can't do much around here, I'm telling you. Let me go close the door. Maybe we won't get any more loud noises. Okay. Sorry again about that. So, the 5 parts of this podcast series will revolve around job preparation and job readiness for any job seeker, as I had mentioned. So, the first part is what I call the assessment piece. So, the assessments are various types of questions that I'll ask you or I'll talk about that you really need to be thinking about, um, based on what it is you like, what are your preferences for various things in a work environment. Um, so I do a couple of different ones, but most of them focus on a career assessment, even though some are personal assessments too. Things you like, things you don't like, situations you'd rather be in or rather not be in. And then also the career piece talks more about kind of your background and your skills, what you bring to the table, what you like to do. And I'm just going to give a quick example. Whether you are a person who is very visual, who works around seeing things hands on, or you're a person who is more abstract and can work with graphs and charts and that kind of thing, or also can work with just instructions and directives like that. So, anyway, I take folks through an assessment period, and it just helps you figure out, who am I, where am I going, where do I want to go, does this interest me, does this not interest me, this kind of thing. So that's the first part. So we spend, I don't know, I think that might take just maybe one session, possibly two. I'll give some examples of some of this, but I use a very extensive piece called a career assessment profile, or CAP, which I have most participants fill out, and then we sit down and review together. And that just asks you all kind of things. What is your situation right now? What is the current state? What are you doing right now? Are you unemployed? Are you employed? Are you not happy? Are you looking? Are you thinking about looking? So a career analysis profile addresses these things. Okay, so I do that with the assessments. Then I move on to level 2, or section 2, which is called research. And in this area of research is really, I start talking about research in the industry that you're either in or you're interested in becoming a part of. So let's say it's the automotive industry. What do you know about this industry? What are the experts saying about this industry? And what are the forecasts? Where will it be in the next 5 years? What are the job situations like in this industry? Are jobs staying in this country? Are they moving out? What are the various things that are going on in this particular industry? So this is research. Some people might call it discovery, but you find out as much as you can about the industry, because you may say, hey, I'm not interested in that. Are they green? Are they environmentally friendly? Are they diverse? How open are they to, promotions and things like that? So we do a lot of research on the industry. And of course, I have great tools and techniques to use for that particular area. Then we move into job titles and occupations. So, what is it that you would like to get into? Maybe you want to stay and keep the same position, but just with a different company. but what is it about the position, the title that is appealing to you? So we'll talk about things like what are the duties and responsibilities of somebody in this position? What are the requirements to get into this position? Do you need a license? Do you need an advanced degree? Do people travel a lot? Is it work from home? So we do some real serious research into particular job titles, and I have tools that I use for that as well. And you can just really kind of see, is this for me? Is this the kind of thing that I want to be doing every day, for the rest of my life, or at least for the next 5 years? So tell me, let's talk a little bit about that. Again, all of this together really sort of helps you frame what it is you want to do, what you bring to the table, and whether or not this career is a good one for you based on a lot of these factors. Okay. Okay, so again, taking the assessments along with the market research, and already you're building like tools. You're building a background of how your job search is going to be, because the more well equipped and knowledgeable you are about who you are, what you want, where you're going, the better it's going to be as you do your job search. Okay. So those are parts one and parts two. If we go to part three, this is known as the Job Seeker's Toolkit, developing a job seeker's toolkit, or some people call this a portfolio. And really, what this involves is making sure that you have everything you need in this toolkit as you go to start your job search. And when I say all the tools that you need, these are documents that you should always have at the ready at any time that you may get an interview. And so things that are common knowledge, like a resume, a cover letter, a thank you letter, these kind of things, of course, we will review and make sure you have these. But then some other pieces that you may not have heard of, things like a professional biography or a networking script or having accomplishment stories. These are other documents that will be useful and will set you apart from your competition out in the job market. And we'll discuss all of these things. There's about 10 to 12 different documents that I use to make sure they're in everybody's toolkit. So these are just available for you anytime you're needing them as you do your job search. So we spend a lot of time. I know this is going to take more than one hour session on the podcast. So I'm talking possibly 2, 3, maybe even 4 hours of time spent on developing this portfolio or this job seeker's toolkit. Because again, we could spend a whole hour on the various types of resumes that are out there. We could spend another hour and a half to 2 hours on how to develop an accomplishment story and what that means and what that's useful for. So all of these things we develop in this section 3, known as the job seeker's toolkit, or developing a portfolio. Okay. And again, this builds on a lot of the material that you've already done, a lot of the work that you've already started. We start this early and we move in up the ladder, so to speak, into what the next phase is, level 4, which is the full on search campaign. So again, you should look at your job search as a campaign, that you're putting everything into it as if you're running for office. And in a way, you are running for something, you're running for a new position. So you got to treat it as such. And so having these materials, having these things that we built upon, your assessments, your market research, your job title descriptions, your ideal workday, your ideal company you want to work for, and then having your tools, having your toolkit all set up, all your documents in a row, copies of these documents that you can leave at situations, one-page summaries, things like that. So all of this is now ready. It's all in your background. It's all in your backpack. And now you're ready to go onto a full-on campaign launch. And what does that mean? What does a full-on campaign launch involve? Well, this is where you actually start looking for a job. You've got all the materials you need now, and you can do the basic things that most people do these days, which is to go online to places like Glassdoor and Indeed and CareerLink and various other places to look for open positions, LinkedIn, etc. So those are all good things to do. But also, you should be spending time on other areas of job search, including things like networking and reaching out to your contact list and your network, and also exploring other possibilities for job search, including using third party sources like staffing agencies or recruiters. So we talk about all of this. We talk about all of this. And this is a great thing because it, again, it gets you prepared to go out there and actually start doing the work. We use tracking tools to make sure that you follow up with people that you have seen and contacted people that maybe you've interviewed with. And we'll talk about interviews quite a bit as well, the different types of interviews that are out there these days. So we get prepared for that. We do some mock interviews. So again, it's a lot of information and it's a lot of background that you need, a lot of things that we'll be just discussing. I'll have some time periods where we'll have open calls, and if people can come in when I do live sessions, people can come in and ask questions or send me questions, and I'll answer them on the air. Those kind of things. So, really looking forward to this. But there's one final piece to talk about, and that's level 5 or section 5, where I talk about ongoing career management. And so, let's say you've gone through all these phases, you actually landed a position, you got the job, you're on the job, congratulations, hooray. Now, 2, 3 months down the road, you want to start thinking about, okay, did I make the right decision? Am I happy here? How do I keep myself engaged with this new environment that I'm in? How are the relationships working out for me, or how should they be working out for me? How do I stay current in this position? And what are the possibilities down the road for advancement from this particular position into maybe something else in the company? So ongoing career management or career strategy is the final piece. And that usually happens sometime after a person has already landed a position. Okay, so that's the 5 parts of my career strategy forum that we'll be doing every month on this podcast here on philadelphiaradio.com. Again, I'll just quickly review. We start off with the assessment piece, and we move into market research, company research, industry research, and then we move into developing a job seeker's toolkit with all the documents you need to have as you go out and pursue job opportunities. Then we talk about the full campaign launch, what it is you need to be doing, who you need to be talking to, where you need to be spending your time on a formal job search. And then optionally is level 5 or part 5, where we talk about ongoing career management and strategy. How do I keep this job? How do I advance in this job? Who do I talk to? How do I keep ahead of the trends in the industry? How do I add value to this position? So that's the ongoing strategy. So again, I just wanted to give you a quick overview here of me, who I am, and what this podcast will be about, what it will sound like, what it will look like. And I believe I will probably be doing this all in a video format. I'm using something right now called Vimeo, and I'm hoping that this works and this recording is much better than the results that I got on Zoom. But anyway, we'll check it out and see how this goes. As mentioned, though, my show will be coming on the last Monday of the month from 7 to 8 p.m. on philadelphiaradio.com. This is a completely online radio station, and so you can tune in there and you'll see an option to click on to the show at that given time. At some point, I'm sure they're going to be having a library of past shows that you can tap into. Say you missed a week, you can go back and listen to them. Also, I'm going to be saving these recordings on my platform, which is Mixcloud. And if you go to mixcloud.com and search for House Music and Shop Talk, that's my current that's my current show on Mixcloud. But I'm going to be adding in this career strategy forum as another show that I'll be having there. So if you're not able to catch it on Philadelphia Radio in their library, you'll be able to go to Mixcloud and find it there. Also, a third place I will be managing and hosting this show is at GaryHinesConsulting.com. That's my business website where I'll be staging all of these shows monthly. And so you can go back and play and replay and download those shows that way. Okay? So, again, I want to thank you for spending some time with me on this Introduction to Career Strategy Forum, my first effort into podcasting and the podcasting world. I hope you got to know a little bit about me. I look forward to seeing you on the 29th of April at 7 p.m. on philadelphiaradio.com, and we will talk again very soon. Thanks.